revenue management, and management of cultural heritage. Author of numerous publications in national and international academic journals. She received a PhD at Ca Fosseca University. She teaches business management and strategic management and marketing. She is the academic coordinator for the degree course in hospitality management, University of Nepal's Federico. She has coordinated several research activities and corporates actively with bachelor, master degrees and PhD programs in Italy and Europe. She is also promoting international relations with the entrepreneurial world. She is a member of Strategic Management Society and Academy of Management. She has working experience as scientific head of international agreement with the Hebrew University of Journalism, coordinator of the 3-year degree course in hospitality management of the Department of Economic Management Institution of the Federico II University Naples, scientific head of international agreement with the University College of Hospitality Management and Culinary Arts of St. Paul, scientific head of international agreement with the Association of North America Higher Education International. She is a member of the University Task Force on Industria 4.0, member of the review group of the degree course in Tourism Sciences with managerial address, member of the Commission of Evaluation Experts appointed by ANVR for the periodic accreditation and for the new accreditation of degree programs in University of Studies of Casino, coordination of the communication for the evaluation of study courses in the tourism and related sectors, member of the MIUR revised register of the scientific experts following section basic research, faculty research associate of the David Escal School of the Business University of Utah. She is the author and reviewer of numerous articles, specialized journals, both national and international, contribution in books with plural authors and monographic works. Because of certain emergency, she is not able to deliver a live session, so the recorded session will be played for the same. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Valentina Della Corte. I am Professor of Strategic Management and Marketing at Federico II University of Naples. Hello, everybody. My name is Valentina Della Corte. I am Professor of Strategic Management and Marketing at Federico II University of Naples, and I am also the academic coordinator of the Hospitality Management course and of the Master course in Hospitality and Destination Management. Today we will discuss a very challenging topic, which is the new frontiers of digital transformation in tourism and the role of artificial intelligence in this method. Let me make some observations in terms of introduction. First of all, digital transformation is characterized, of course, by deep and significant technological changes that can really modify the whole value creation process in the value chains, both in manufacturing and in service industry. Of course, this has an impact on many industries. I could say all industries with a different intensity in the effect, but all the industries are involved in this process. That's why also considering the very deep and difficult situation of uh, today due to the pandemic, due to very difficult international politics situations, there is a real revolution in this area. And this revolution is now facing a big criticality because digital transformation has always been connected with the theme of globalization. But now recent events show that countries also have to pay great attention to the specific and local aspects that have to be taken into account. So it's not just globalization, but it's also the local responses to the difficulties as well as to the opportunities provided by the external scenario. So that's why we often talk about local approaches. What is the industrial revolution right now? You know that we are always talking about 1.0, then 2, then 3, then 4, and right now we are in the 5.0 era. What does this mean? Just to recall the main aspects of the different phases, we had the Industrial Revolution in the second half of the 18th century, where that was characterized by the wheel and loom, the mechanization, the steam and water power, and this is also the time when Taylor and Smith, a lot of important economics theory were developed. Then in 1840, there was the starting of the Industry 2.0 that was characterized by mass production, assembly line, the introduction of electricity in many processes. Industry 3.0, the 70s, automation, electronic IT systems. In 2000, we were starting in, making a deep jump in a new era, in a new phase, with the cyber physical system, the Internet of Things, the cloud computing. So a lot of tools that really revolutionized the way both manufacturing and service companies were studying. There is another very important aspect that regards in particular Industry 5.0, that is today. What's the main difference between Industry 4.0 and 5.0? And now there are two keywords that cannot be distinguished and taken apart from the digital transformation issue, and are sustainability and resilience. The pandemic showed and put us in front of this issue that requires not just theoretical but practical answers. Now, why today we do have to talk about digital transformation? We have to talk about digital transformation for a very specific aspect, because at the beginning we had a digitizing. It was the process of encoding analog information into digital format, and computers could restore the process, transmit, elaborate information. Then we moved to the digitalization phase, where digital technology are used to alter existing business processes, to have more efficient coordination, as well as to improve customer experience and therefore customer satisfaction, and also to be very efficient in the decision-making process. Think about the online booking systems. They really revolutionized everything. The first companies to automate this procedure were the airline companies. They were soon after followed by other companies, for example, also in the travel industry and in the tourism industry and hospitality. Then we have the digital transformation. And this is more invasive. Why? Because we're still talking about business transformation, new processes of value creation, with a great attention to the ecosystem where the company is involved. And this means the two keywords I was talking about before, that are sustainability and resilience. What are the problems? What are the difficulties that are faced in this process? First of all, not all companies are so innovative. So there are companies that are more reluctant to this kind of innovation, to this kind of changes. Organizational structures are sometimes, in fact, too rigid to sustain the change. So one big issue here is, what is change management? Is there an appropriate change management approach? Are there the so-called dynamic capabilities inside the company, or they're more conservative? Do managers have an adequate strategic vision? Do they have it? Because if the decision makers don't have this kind of vision, it's it's almost not impossible, but very difficult that significant digital transformation processes can take place. And why? Because we need an open-minded for this process, because it can require business model revision. It can require different value chains constructions. It can require different strategic activities inside the value chain. Therefore, think about a practical aspect, okay? So the digital divide. What do we have to do in order to introduce the digital divide? Which is the generation we are talking to? Because of course, if today we are talking to the Z generation rather than the millennials, it's something. But think about the experienced people. Think about the fact that the population is getting older. Think about the fact that people like to work even in the third age. So this requires like a total reframing of our frame of mind. And that's the challenge, the big challenge, and to be shared by all the people of different categories and ages in our organization. Now, let's look at some aspects that may be of great interest for us. First, I would like to focus on the impactful technologies and trans impact radar for 2022. Now, we have different emerging trends and technologies that are disruptive, that change completely the setting, the ecosystem framework and situation, and also the people's approaches. So look at these four quadrants. We have, first of all, to be aware of the fact that we are living right now in a smart world. What is a smart world? It's a world where we can have new ways of interacting. We are making deep studies right now, for example, on smart cities and the application of the smart tools to different cities. Okay, and this is the necessity for the future. Then there are the critical enablers, and these are the organizations, the people, the experts that have to favor the process. They have to favor the reshaping of the business models in the ecosystem of reference, which is a very, very hard process. Of course, another important factor that we have to take into account is the problem of ubiquitous and transparent security. What about all the studies that have been developed right now? We will talk about them, like blockchain, for example. These are very, very important, and these are influenced a lot by the necessity to create on-site a transparent process. On the other, without compromising the security of people, of organizations, of information. And this takes to a productivity revolution. Think about the computing ability. I mean, what we can do with computing and what can be done. There are some sectors that are, for example, typical in our country, like in the Made in Italy. Think about the design, both in fashion industry, both in furniture productions, of course, it's changed completely. And look at these circles. They are set up in a certain subsection of frames, and they show the number of years that will be necessary for technologies or trends to be adopted. Now, the size and the color of the different, you see, size and color uh, of the different emerging technologies show that the impact of trend will have an impact on products and markets. Okay, so some are more at a very early stage, some other are more developed, and their impact is of course increasing, and they can have implications on the aspects that we were considering before in terms of smart world, in terms of critical enablers, ubiquitous and transparent security, and productivity revolution. Okay, now, so in this phase, the yellow part is what happens right now. Then in the second ring, we have 1 to 3 years time, then 3 to 6 years time, and then 6 to 8 years time. Okay, then there are some example manifestations of digital disruption and game changing opportunities in different sectors. Now let's take into account what's happening, for example, in the tourism industry. There is an existential threat because we are in front of a crazy disruption of customer expectations. They're growing. Customers are expecting more and more personalized proposals and serendipitous experiences, full of hospitable approaches, with a big sense of the community and the involvement of the community. We are making studies that regard even the involvement of citizens, for example, in destination management, which means the role of citizenship. Then there are disruptions of the competitive landscape and basis of competition, because there are a lot of platforms all over the world and from this point of view, the internet providers were disruptive in this sector. They made also a lot of damages, I think, because of course they pushed the tourism business in the world quickly. They gave the chance of being known all over the world by a lot of companies in the sector. But on the other side, they really started managing the old value chain in a very standardized approach without really taking into account the specificities of the places, of the destinations, of the companies, and so this has some way caused losing some kind of local identity and genuinity in some situations. Because in the past, there were, for example, very important operators specialized in niche markets. They were very good. They really knew the places they were selling. There was a high touch, a high human touch in the process. So that's hard and that's tough. Okay. At the same time, of course, there are some other options that we can use because now the challenge is do not lose the local identity, but use the new tools to improve, to innovate, to get to a very professional and unbelievable experiential offer. This can be done, but we have to know how to use these tools. And these tools can be very useful because they can help us before, during, and after the journey. So to follow our customer in the whole customer journey. So which is the game-changing opportunity here? Offering enhanced or even new disruptive products and services. This is wonderful. We can be transparent, we can be safe, we can use blockchain, we can use augmented reality, we can use virtual travel booking processes, virtual travel tours, robo concierge, but they some way reinforce the offer. Another big issue is enhancing organizational adaptability, agility, and ambidexterity. What does this mean? To look at things from both sides of the coin. to look at the things with the eyes of the customer, of the different customers, because each customer looks at things differently. This requires a very open-minded approach. This requires a cultural evolution. I can tell you that my university was founded by a great emperor. His name was Federico II. He, in 1224, built the first like multicultural university in the world. He used to speak 6 languages at that time. He called the main researchers and professors from all over the world to work together. And in between the main languages, there were Latin, Greek, the Arabic, and Hebrew. And these people were working together. So this gave a great frame of mind to the people working. That's why big innovations were made in our university. And now we are celebrating the 800 years celebrations. I am in charge of it in our university and invite all the, our guests to come to Italy, to come to Napoli, to live with us this wonderful year of celebrations. Okay, going back to our speech. Enhancing collaboration and coordination between the partners. Now, a networking approach is necessary, but be careful because we all know it's necessary. But in how many contexts is the network approach really applied? That's my question. So, one thing I love, one of the first tools is the interactive map. Today we have lots of options regarding interactive maps. And there are a lot of things and of tools that allow us to personalize them on the basis of our own necessities. Adding such filters. So the system, through the data analysis, memorizes our requests, our comments, our hints. And it becomes like a personal map. Think about just the maps. What is the power of interactive maps and what kind of information the customer can give? Because remember that, for example, in tourism industry, the great stuff is that customers themselves, with their own background, with their own knowledge, they become a resource for the company because the company can get a lot of hints, of comments, of complaints, of things that some way really favor a lot the process. Now, what are some examples? In Naples, we have the large city Napoli, which is an interactive map, which has video games, where there is the history as a social network. Stay always up to date with news, events, traffic conditions, gives information, updated information on monuments, museum, restaurants, and so on. This application was studied by a computer expert and a programmer, and it requires a Bluetooth activation of the device. And then once you have downloaded it, you have all the information regarding the city of Naples. It's an interactive map where you can see all the points of interest, all points of interest shown by the category, so you can easily search for the section to visit. There is a section that contains all the interactive streets wired through the technology. And there are also notifications regarding events, daily news, road conditions, and so on. Another interesting aspect is crowd mapping. What is crowd mapping? It's made up of the words crowd mapping, and it's just a cartographer, but community of both residents and users. This is a very informal bottom-up initiative that favors the community process. Of course, it's also used by children. We have to be very careful about the use of these tools, but that's the future. So here the challenge is secure processes to make social aspects more efficient and widespread. For example, there is a crowd mapping in Europe. This is very nice, and it gives information to young people. There are use IT maps and websites that are made just by young locals uh, in the process of crowd sharing. So they're like volunteers. But you see the the big issue because how many information we can get from that. Really unbelievable number of information. So there are cities that you can find. For example, here in Europe, you can see here in red all the cities that are involved in this process and for which youths are putting their own maps and then sharing crowd mapping with other youths all over the world. Now, gaming is very funny. I love gaming. They are applying gaming in many museums. It's a way to approach the young generations. And gaming also like adults like them. Why? Because they saw that through gaming you can fix some concepts better. You can convince of the interesting aspects in for many things, and so you can raise brand awareness. You can, of course, enhance the tourism experience because the tourist, after such an experience, doesn't forget, keeps something in mind, has a different awareness of the value that was created in his background, and of course, is more active in the process. So this favors the engagement, and this can favor the customer loyalty. And through the gaming process, they can become like main protagonists in some cases, and therefore they can be pushed to attract other people. So it's like a digital transformation, word of mouth, and entertainment. So therefore, the experience as something that in its essence is also an entertainment thing. So the edutainment approach, which is typical can be extended, in my opinion, to many areas. And of this kind of approach, by many researchers that we also that there is higher employee engagement. One very nice experience was started in Mano Museum, the Museum of Archaeology in Naples. It's one of the most important, in terms of archaeology, is the most important in Italy, one of the most important in Europe. Probably, I would suggest you absolutely to visit it. You can't miss it. And a colleague of mine developed this kind of game that was father and son, and it's like a two-sided narrative game where you can find feelings like love, dread, fear in a journey that is a discover of an archaeologist's father that the son is never. And the protagonist goes through different historical periods: ancient Rome, Egypt, the Bourbon Age, and today's Naples. Augmented reality. What is augmented reality? We are experiencing this, for example, also in our university, because we have 4 museums that have a wonderful, unbelievable, rich endowment of interesting things, from mineralogy to anthropology to zoology, and but they are very traditional. So we are really innovating our offer through the augmented reality, and we are making an experience with schools, putting together schools that are based on classical studies for the contents, with schools that are focused on ICT and digital transformation for the product. And they are also interacting with our academy, which is the Apple Academy. That is because the Naples is the hub for Apple, Cisco, a lot of academies that are very important. And with them, we are helping the students to develop an augmented reality proposal for the anthropology museum, for example. And another example that we can have that is close to the archaeological site of Herculaneum is the MAT, the Virtual Archaeological Museum. This is the most avant-garde museums in Italy. And it also allows you to go through a three-dimensional reconstruction techniques, multi-sensory effects, holograms, synchronized multi-projections. So it's an interactive virtual path. And this is very, very interesting as well. Let's move now to artificial intelligence and machine learning. What is the difference between, first of all, artificial intelligence and machine learning? Artificial intelligence involves machines that can perform tasks that are characterized by human intelligence, robots. Machine learning is the ability to learn without being explicitly programmed. So it's a new step in the machine learning process. Of course, for an artificial intelligence code, we have to consider that it should be developed for common good and for the benefit of humanity. So we have to be very careful with the use of artificial intelligence, in my opinion. It should operate towards principles of intelligibility and fairness. So it has to be highly supervised. It should not affect the data right and privacy, especially privacy of individuals. All artificial intelligence should ensure that all citizens are educated to enable them to thrive mentally, but also emotionally, economically, alongside technological process. It has to be well used. So it doesn't have to hurt, destroy, or deceive humans. In the studies that we are making, we have the proof that it can reinforce human touch, but it's not a substitute, a real substitute, because new human resource competencies are required. But it can substitute, especially the more, top level competencies. Let's see the relationship between the IT foundations and artificial intelligence and its systems and applications. Well, first of all, we have devices with an integrated systems that involve all smart travel assistants in terms of mobile applications, online, self-service robots. Okay, we have on a side the business, on the other side the tourism. The AI systems favor personalized systems, conversational ones, recommended one, forecasting, and language translation. So it's a way to go closer to the tourist, to better personalize the service. But of course, behind there must be a very skilled person programming and using all this. Then we have other two aspects that are interconnectivity and interoperability, which recalls big data, very useful and important information that can be really strategic, hardware and communication, and then the algorithms that are based on what? They are based on ambient intelligence, natural language processing, also machine learning, and so on. What is the process of data generation? We have, that's the big stuff. Look, we have pre-trip, we have experience, and we have post-trip. There is a big data that allows to use AI in marketing, in terms of marketing attraction, brand reputation, loyalty, and gives important information also for revenue and price policies. In this case, there are especially the online travelers and internet providers, destination management systems that are working. Then at the level of the experience, we have an assigned environment, weather, events, real-time data, and on the other side, we have the experience of the traveler, biometric and emotions, wearables, and so we have a lot of traces. Some are online, some are offline. Then what happens post-trip? Perceptions. Okay, so the perception what happened, and then AI also favors a lot the operations in all the services that are provided to the customer for the experience. So big data is very important because it takes all the information, pre-trip, post-trip, environment, and experience of the customer to better work in terms of marketing and operations. So, what are the main areas of application of AI in hospitality industry? In operations management, rooms allocation according to guest value, facilities preventive management, the adaptation of the cuisine available to the tastes of the customers and the different tastes according to the different cultures, different habits in terms of food, room cleaning robots, integration of dynamic information into business processes. And this is very important because without AI, it will be very, very difficult then to translate the data information into business processes. On the other side, if we program it well, we can really transform it. And some of the things can be transformed automatically and be very efficient on this aspect. Support to the finance manager by taking into account expected revenues, arrivals, programming, forecasting, and so on. What happens in sales and marketing? Improved customer relationship management systems, deployment of intelligent marketing, development of customized predictions, creation of real-time offers that are sent to users through a context-based approach. So this gives us a whole view of what can really develop in this case. The uses of AI technology in the tourism industry are also based on the applications of conversational agents, software planned with the scope to stimulate an intelligent conversation between the machine and the human. They receive input information, they process them, understand them, and are able to respond and to execute on one or more comments given by the users. One of those instruments that, for example, we are also using right now to better favor this kind of system are the chatbots. In cultural firms, but also, for example, in the airports of Naples, they are using it. And I won an award from this in 2018. With this software that provides information on flights, but also the location of the services, shops, luggage tracking, manage the requests and feedbacks and reports on the airport experience and provides passengers with very useful information related to the trip and all the things they can do. And so also because the airport is becoming a place where you can spend time, not just waiting for the flight. So how do you spend your time in a very nice way instead of waiting, sitting? This is a big issue for airports that are becoming a very, very important business. Then we also have this example in Nagasaki, where there is a very strange stuff. I mean, it was seen as a template for the future. A robot staffed hotel could offer a fun and original experience to guests while providing huge savings on staff costs of the hotel. Does this entail? Now we get to the topic because of course, while in manufacturing, the adoption of AI devices is considered as normal in service industries like tourism and event related industries. There is a personal contact, which is very important. So we have to manage in the best way the simultaneous interplay between demand and offer, co-creating the experience, and also using all the main characteristics and using well these devices, but without compromising the situations where the human contact is more. Now, the acceleration of technology in tourism was due a lot to the pandemic. Leonardo da Vinci's airport in Rome has just awarded the Skytrax prizes as the best in the world in terms of anti-COVID measures, because from a total scanner, it detects the biometric characteristics of the passengers' faces and acquires their passport details and boarding passes. It is also it associates the data with the persons, saves the result in the memory, and directs the traveler to the dedicated lane up the gates. So everything is automatic. And from this point of view, the fact that the machine is moving instead of the human is only an acceleration of a more efficient process. As regards the issue of ubiquitousness and also of transparency, we can take into account the blockchain and artificial intelligence issue. Why blockchain? Blockchain is a chain of blocks that are secure through cryptographic techniques. And data are added on the blockchain and cannot be modified. And so there is a consensus-based, verifiable, and correct ledger of data that has to be created. This makes it very suited for tasks where data integrity is extremely important. Artificial intelligence, on the other side, is a branch of computer science that attempts to both understand and build intelligent entities. It is understood as the capability of a machine to imitate intelligent human behavior. In the healthcare context, for example, it can help a lot by surfacing the signals that our well-meaning physicians may otherwise miss. So now let's first look at the blockchain. Blockchain can be described as an immutable ledger that locks data in a decentralized manner. So it maintains a continuously growing set of data bundled together in blocks. These blocks are links to the previous and the future block through cryptographic protocols. And they are readable, writable, tamper-proof. This allows decentralized transactions and data management. So decentralization is an aspect. Persistency, because it's impossible to delete entries after they have been accepted. And anonymity. That's why it requires a very, very important consensus mechanism. How does the blockchain work? First of all, imagine that we have a situation where A wants to send money to B. Then the transaction is represented by a block. The block is broadcast to the entry party in the network, okay? And then those in the network approve the transaction. The blockchain can be added to the chain, which provides an ineditable and transparent record of transaction. And then the money moves from A to B. So imagine, considering the banks, how quick this process is, and it can be also very secure. What can be considered in terms of blockchain? First of all, public chain. Data can be viewed, written, anyone can join and contribute to both consensus. There is also a consortium chain that is partially decentralized in the sense that there is a small number of groups or entities that have access to the view and participate to the protocol. And then there is the private one, which is centralized. Only the selected nodes can participate to the network. From this point of view, there is also a long discussion about the use of a blockchain for legal and formal acts that usually require the function of a lawyer or a notary. So this is a big issue right now. But which is the innovativeness of blockchain? First of all, we have the fact that there is the digital currency, zero need for intermediaries. So think about also the revolution in the old chain, because we don't need intermediaries anymore. Smart contracts can be implemented with the help of verified negotiations. But from this point of view, I can tell you that since it has to be evaluated, only certain, very well scheduled and precise types of contracts up to now can be used in the blockchain system. Securities, of course, in financial markets, and keep recording, because we can check the information at any time. And it's also very important for, of course, transparency. Then there are some categories of platforms using blockchain technologies in tourism. For example, accommodation, that's what Airbnb uses. Food, The Fork, Eat With, information, TripAdvisor, transportations, Uber, BlaBlaCar, tourism activities, Menu, tours by locals. So there are huge plenties of situation. Now, the future of the tourism industry through the implementation of the blockchain is very interesting. There is a bunch of literature that was concerned with this topic. What we can tell is that it focuses on the potential disruption which can bring to the traditional online travel aggregators, but also to the aggregators operating specifically in the sharing economy market, like Airbnb, Deliveroo, and so forth. It is therefore likely that the blockchain will be adopted, but very slowly, to find a convenient solution to not totally destroy third parties platforms. Because if this system takes place widely and heavily, think about the platforms. What about their future if they don't invest in blockchain right now? This is a hard stuff. Conclusions. Hospitality managers need specific competencies to support a building, sustenance, and digital transformation and digital business capabilities, which are different from the past and are required by a lot of situations. Generated the new trade-off between generic competencies and industry-specific technical competence versus strategic competencies. It is also very important to focus on the intangible aspects and the interconnections with the strategic ones. There are contexts and situations and ecosystems where it's really important, like museums and similar cultural sites, because they have to be both creative and innovative. And the very interesting thing is that, for example, cultural companies, cultural sites, museums also have a sort of social function, which is widespreading the culture in a place, and they are able to make the experience for the visitor unique, and they can better set the goal. So for the digital challenge, however, we need approaches, both in terms of management, in terms of business, that are new, that are different, that requires different, capabilities. And that's why this is the big challenge. What I can tell you is that, for example, as regards Italy, but I can tell you Europe, let me tell this, we are actually the old continent. There's much to do in this direction, because I cannot really admit that in a country, in a continent where most of the cultural sites are located, innovation still has to take place from this point of view. So I leave you with this big challenge. I mean, where shall we get? And going back to the slide of the Industry 5.0, maybe the sustainability and resilience can be the key points to favor a really innovative approach where technology plays a nice role. So thank you very much for your attention. Don't hesitate to contact me for any further information. I left also some references if you would like to deepenly study the topic. Of course, the approach was mainly based on examples, because we are right now talking about things that have to be also practical in their approach. But I think that in a lot of countries, the things I said, taking examples from Italy and from Europe, can really be shared, because we are living the same phase with different intensities, but there are big issues we have to think about. And we as experts have the duty, not only the right, to study deeply, to analyze the criticalities, and to develop a model view for these approaches. Thank you very much. I was really glad to have this conversation with you. I hope that it raises a lot of, doubts, hints, wishing of demands, of questions, and to foster some way the conversation and the intellectual reasoning on these topics. Thank you very much, and see you soon. Goodbye.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Now it's time for a vote of thanks. I, Madhuri Kavarkhe, on behalf of University Department of Information and Communication Technology, MGM University, Aurangabad, welcomes you all for the valedictory session of International Workshop on Artificial Intelligence, Machine Learning, and Deep Learning in Industry and Healthcare. I would like to express our sincere thanks to honorary chairs, Dr. Vilas Sapkar sir, Vice Chancellor, MGM University. Thank you, sir. We are grateful for the time and the effort you took to share your thoughts, experiences with the audience. Your comments were timely. I believe we can benefit a great deal from the ideas you shared. Thank you for again your advice. Dr. Hariram Shinde sir, Dean, Engineering and Technology, MGM University, and Principal JNC. I would like to say thanks to sir for the overall support and the kind motivation. Dr. Sharvari Tamne ma'am, Professor and Head of the Department of Information Technology, JNEC, and Head of University Department of Information and Communication Technology at MGM University. She's also convener for organizing and contributing the workshop. Dr. Sharvari Tamne madam also enlightened about machine learning, its classification, algorithms. She also explained real-time applications of machine learning. We express a vote of thanks to Dr. Krishnan Umachandran sir, guest of today's inaugural function, General Manager Nailcast Limited in India's largest cast iron foundry. Dr. Krishnan Umachandran sir presented a detailed overview about Industry 4.0 machines and where to use which kind of analogy. Sir also introduced an available tool for deep learning, Python libraries for deep learning followed by neural network types and architecture with the real-time examples. Dr. Varalakshmi M. Ma'am, Associate Professor, Department of CSE, Cambridge Institute of Technology, Bangalore, India. Dr. Valalakshmi Ma'am, indicted by introducing the role and the application of machine learning role in healthcare. Ma'am has also explained in brief about systematic approaches to carry out research in healthcare domain. And the last, Professor Valentina Della Corte, Professor of Business Management at Federico II, University of Naples. Today's speaker was delivered by her. Unfortunately, she was not able to deliver live session. So on time, she has sent a video for the same. Ma'am has explained industrial revolution from industry 1.0 to 5.0, uses of technology in tourism industry. She has also explained augmented reality and tourism. She also explains experience about gaming in Nepal also. Thank you, ma'am. Once again to all the speakers for making the time and enlightening us with their knowledge of artificial intelligence and machine learning, deep learning and its role in real-time application. Also thank all the participants for making this day a success. Now I request to all the participants to start your camera to capture the photographs for the moment. I request all the participants to start your cameras. Thank you. The link will be shared in the chat box as well as through the email. Participants will get the certificates after submission of feedback forms. So I declare that today's proceedings are over. Thank you. Thank you once again.
These feedback forms will be available only up to 7 p.m. Okay, after that it will be closed. So participants are requested to fill it up before 7 p.m. today. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Meeting closed. Recording stop.